Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Marcy. It's Judith.
Hey, Judith. Oh, you're there.
Hello, Judith.
Good evening.
Hi, Abdi.
Hello, Marcia.
Frank Septel, that's somebody I haven't seen in a while. How are you?
Hi.
Who's that?
Hi, Frank.
Hey. I was just going to say hello to nobody.
Nobody's not on the call yet.
Hello, my friend Frank.
How are you?
Yeah,
Hey, Jasab.
Hello, Frank.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Hi.
hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Marcia, a long time no see.
I know, Frank. It's been a while.
Have you been
How are
avoiding
you?
me? You've been avoiding me, haven't you? You just
No, just really busy. But good to see you, though.
really good to see you, Marcia. Hey, for everyone on the call, if you haven't signed up to host a Cliff screening this year,
We're in trouble.
laborfilms.ca, go and book one. It's free. You get some amazing films about labor by labor activists from around the world. It's totally awesome. Laborfilms.ca.
Did you say laborfilm.ca?
I just put it in the chat.
Thank you. Thanks.
And you can also, I'm just putting in another, I put in the link for our streaming platform where you can see people who've already booked.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello, Lima.
Hello, Miguel.
Hi, how are you, Susan? Abdi?
¿Cómo está,
See you
Lima?
guys. Bien,
Wait,
gracias.
okay. Hang on. Just
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Ingrid.
East across Africa, emptying into the Mozambique Channel. Matt.
What's Zambezi?
Yes.
Character 1000.
He tinkers with history at the Ministry of Truth, gets a girlfriend, and has a very bad year. Matt.
I don't know whose audio we're
It's
listening
Jeopardy!
Hi, Dora. Hello, my friend.
Just a reminder to all to mute yourself if you're not speaking to everyone. We can hear TV sounds, your eating and slurping sounds. So just a friendly reminder. Or maybe you want us to know how much you enjoy your dinner.
All right.
to. I just want to say that I have some really lovely slurping sounds, just FYI, but I'll put myself on mute anyway.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay. So we're going to start soon, but in the meantime, you could take a look in the chat. We have, Jennifer, I think the agenda is already posted, and I believe in the chat, Jennifer, do we have some of the statement in the chat as well?
I was going to release them as we approach them on the agenda point. So
I'm on YouTube. I don't want to be on YouTube.
Jennifer,
No.
I recommend that we post the revised encampment statement now so that
Okay.
people have a
Sure.
chance to somehow to take a look at it while they're also listening and paying attention.
Sure, I'll put the revised one right now.
Thank you.
And Carolyn, you're not on YouTube, you're on Zoom.
Okay, here we are.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi there, how are you?
Good. Okay.
least you know better now.
Are we all on mute? Yeah, so if you're able to go to the chat and take a look at the revised statement, one was sent out before, but this is a revised copy that we'll be voting on. That would be great. And hopefully you got a chance to look at the minutes. So we're going to start. I want to welcome everyone. This is just amazing for the last few months as we continue to join on Zoom for these meetings. I hope you stay for the duration of the meeting. It's awesome having you out, and you know, as I've always said, you could be doing other things, but you're here, and I hope you're able to give us some feedback as we go along. It's not just us you're listening to, but we love the feedback as well. So that would be great. And we'll get started. I believe we also we do our roll call as the name come up on the screen. So that's happening. Roll call of officer. And before we go any further, I'm going to ask Sister Jinky to do the harassment statement.
Good evening, everyone. Our harassment statement. Mutual respect, cooperation, and understanding are strongly held principles of the trade union movement. We will neither condone nor tolerate harassing or discriminatory behavior that creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment and undermines the dignity or self-esteem of any individual. An injury to one is an injury to all. Speech or conduct which is racist, sexist, homophobic, or discriminatory in any way is unacceptable to trade unionists and only serves to divide us. Our policies and practices must reflect this commitment to equality as we work together for justice and dignity in our workplaces, our unions, and our community.
Sounds like her goal.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, sister. Next, well, I'm going to ask Brother Jeff to read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, sister. Good evening, all. We are meeting on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the New Credit, which was subject to the Dish with One Spoon Treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, Haudenosaunee, that bound them to the territory and protect the land. Subsequent indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. Have a great meeting.
Thank you. Okay, so just before we move on further, if Susan could again just walk us through the function for the chat, for the Zoom, would be great.
Yeah, and you know, we're all old hands at Zoom meetings now, but it's always good to have a little bit of a reminder. Please remember to keep yourself muted unless you are speaking. And of course, as so many of us have done, when you do speak, make sure you unmute yourself, because it's always fun to call people out for that. Feel free to make use of the chat function to share information and some of your reactions, doing it respectfully and not so much that it, you know, it distracts from the important speakers and discussion that you're hearing. If you want to speak, the way that that's most commonly done now is by going down to the button on the bottom of your screen that says reactions and look for something that actually says raise hand, and then hit that, and that will raise you to the top of the speakers list. A few of you may still have an older Zoom program, in which case, if you open your participant list, you'll see a little blue raise hand function there. And I guess that's about it when it comes to the voting. If any of you have trouble, Jennifer will walk you through that. Of course, only those who are here by Zoom, online will be able to vote. We don't have voting for those by phone. The final point is, for those of you who are on the phone, if you want to raise your hand, please push *9. Enjoy the meeting.
Thank you, Susan. Is there anyone that attended the meeting tonight for the first time? Okay, Adam Joy. Is there any first time attendant?
Yes, me.
Yes, me.
So,
Yes, Joy.
is that
Yes,
For the
Joy?
first-time attenders, if you could use that raise hand function that I mentioned, that would be great, either by going down to the reaction button and clicking on the raise hand function. Thank you. Andrea, I see 4 people with their hands raised, if you're able to see them as well.
Yes. Okay. So welcome. This is, even though we are not at our actual place face-to-face, it's still our House of Labor. We are on Zoom tonight. This is not every month we meet, and this is the place where we learn, we listen to each other, and we plan action, and we stand in solidarity with each other. So hopefully we see you again, and this is not just your first and last. So welcome, Diane, Judy, Adele, and I see Elza. Okay. Okay, welcome. Okay. And I hope you got a chance to review the minutes. I believe it's in the chat also, but it was sent out to you before we vote to approve it or to reject. Okay. So I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve the minutes. The minutes of, okay, so Susan put the poll up for that.
I move the motion for the minutes.
Seconded.
Thank you. Any errors or omission? Okay. Now I'm going to ask for a vote to support the motion. All those in favor of the minutes, please signify. Any opposed? Carried. Thank you.
All set. Let's go.
Uh-huh.
Make a U-turn. Then turn left.
This is the Labor Council. We're always going left. Sorry, we should all be muted. That was my point.
Okay. All right. So it's great to know that you're driving and you're tuning in with us. Don't leave us, but see if you can mute the voice or navigator that you have there. And I think it's really important before we go any further as we continue to just to remember the lives that's lost during COVID. We're hoping day by day that these numbers go down to 0, that we're not coming to these meetings and this is and how we are starting off, but it's what it is right now. And I'm going to ask for a moment of silence for us to we're taking a moment in silence for those that we lost on COVID, and also the loss of life. As you know, we reflect on the 30th of September, and those are lives that's also lost in it. So can we take a moment also to remember? Thank you. we have the credential report. I'm checking. Oh, Brother David, you're here. Thank you. So Brother David will do the credential report.
Yes, I move for approval, the QP Local 2191 for 4 delegates.
Okay. So the poll is up. You support the motion? Please signify. This vote is carried. Thank you. Right. Moving on to strike and lockout. Any report on strike or lockout? Okay then. Okay, I will move on if there's none. Okay. Up next on the agenda is our marking September 30th. We have a video to show, but I believe on the 30th, most of you probably have some report of your own within your own union or your own community of how you you recognize that day. You know, as I said before, it's a day that many use to remember life that was lost, the trauma that was faced by our First Nation community. And it's not just us remembering and being angry anymore. It's also a day that we use to educate each other. Educate each other of how we can what we can do, how we care, and I think the most important thing, the calling for justice for our First Nation community. So I'm gonna ask Skylar if she can show the video that we use for that day. It would be great. Like you know, I've seen a lot on Facebook where different things that different union was doing. The orange shirt that was out there to mark that day, and it's the first time. This is the first year that it's also become a national day, and a national day that we need to look at the next year from now, where what changed for the betterment out of it. So, Skylar.
Okay, we will be showing the video. I would recommend that you turn your volume up in order to watch it, because there are a couple of places where the volume is a little bit on the low side.
My name is Andrea Babington. I'm the president of the Toronto New York Region Labor Council. I am first a Black woman. I'm an immigrant, and I'm someone who on a daily basis faced with systemic racism and discrimination within the workplace and within my community. I know very well what it's like to be discriminated, and very well what it's like to have children who face with these barriers every day. And with that, I stand in solidarity with my Indigenous community. I'm speaking to you from Toronto, on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people, and now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaties, signed with the multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. These are our reflections on the calls to action and what reconciliations mean for our organization. The Labor Council is a democratic institution that provides leadership on issues of social justice to our affiliates, local unions. Racial justice is a core principle which guides our work. We recognize that we have an important role in contributing to reconciliation. We count over 220,000 working people as our members, including Indigenous people and settlers. Today we commit to ongoing learning and reflection about the history and present reality of Indigenous peoples in Canada. We will reflect on organized labor's part in creating or breaking down systemic barriers. We will actively seek out opportunities to make changes within our movement, and we will call out oppressive action. These goals are in the spirit of calls to action. Number 43. Adopt and implement the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Number 44, develop a national plan, strategies, and other concrete measures to achieve the goals of the UNDRIP. Number 62, develop and fund Aboriginal content in education. Number 80, establish a National Day for Truth and Reconciliation as a statutory holiday.
Solidarity in the fight for justice and peace.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Skylar here. I just wanted to give a little bit of context for the video and why we chose to do this as our to put out on September 30th. So there's two organizations that I want to make you aware of. One is called Reconciliation Thunder, and the other one is called Circles for Reconciliation. I'll just put the Facebook page for Reconciliation Thunder in the chat there. So they together had a campaign called 94 and 94. So in the 94 days before September 30th, they were sharing one of the 94 calls to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, one for each day. I mean, I personally was actually following along with that, but they were asking that individuals and organizations reflect on what those calls to action mean for you as either an individual or an organization. And I think that this was really impactful because it's easy to think that they are only calls to action for government, but that's not actually the case. So we spent some time reflecting on what they mean for the Labor Council, and we are already doing some things towards reconciliation, but we can obviously do more. We can always do more. And so that's how we came up with putting this video together. And I just wanted to say before I close that I was in touch with the organization before we finished our video, and they were very excited to hear that the Labor Council was doing this. They have not had a lot of buy-in for this particular campaign from Labor yet. So we're a leader in this, and I just encourage you to take this back to your own unions, your own workplaces, take it into your family's lives and think about if you want to participate. They're still calling for videos. You can find them on Facebook using the hashtag 94in94. And it's also the link I put in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Skylar. Okay, so our last meeting, I actually asked for everyone to put up their hand who was attending the Labor Day cavalcade, and they're the one that's not coming. And I have to say, you delivered. You delivered on that. Our theme for Labor Day was Rise Up for a Just Recovery, and we heard from a lot of you with what was happening with this pandemic that you really want to get out there, get on the street, make your voice heard, and I think most important, seeing each other, where the last more than a year and a half, where a lot of you haven't seen many faces throughout the labor movement, and it turned out to be a wonderful day where people was just excited seeing each other. And I think just marking the day that regardless of what was happening, nothing was going to stop labor from stepping out and sending a strong message that the hibernation period is over. We are rising up, and we are going to determine what recovery look like for us. And I want to also encourage, if you wasn't there before, and that message that's out there, that you encourage you to continue. That yes, September 6th passed, but we have a lot of work to do. It was just a day to really reflect. We were there to remember the things that we gain, and also the threat of losing some of these and some that we lost, and also to use it to remind each other that there was a federal election that was around the corner, and for people to come out and vote. So we still have a lot of work to do with that sense, but what we've done throughout the days leading up to Labor Day, there was short videos where different unions was able to send their message of rising up, and later we also share that back to those unions that they are able to use within their own organization at their own meeting and share with their own members online too. We did a press conference to start at City Hall, and then later on our way to Queen's Park, we had a double-decker bus where a number of speakers from different unions was able to continue their message as we were en route to Queen's Park. And I have to say, with us not sure what was going to happen, this was the first time ever that the Labor Council did a cavalcade for Labor Day. And we're looking forward next year. Hopefully everything is well, where you're able to take the street. But the fact that you came, and over 200 vehicles that was on the road, and the bicycles that led the cavalcade, and definitely there was others that came. They were not driving, but they came out with their flags for support. I commend all of us for standing up and sending our message to all three levels of government that it's time for us to rise up, and we're not asking for anyone to determine what recovery is going to look like, but for all of us to do so. Susan or Skylar, can you share the video?
The first Black woman to lead a Labor Council in all of Canada, Sister Andrea Babington!
Today, we are rising up for social justice, for racial justice, for economic justice.
The impact of COVID-19 has been severe for our members.
March of 2020 saw a complete shutdown of the live entertainment industry, and still to this day, the majority of members are still waiting to return back to their proper jobs.
This is not simply a COVID crisis, it's an economic crisis, it's a climate crisis, and intertwined in all of it is systemic racism that oppresses so many.
We are called essential, but many of us were treated as expendable. We are purposely misclassified as independent contractors.
We have had a slash and burn government.
This government is paving the way for a two-tier education system.
And now we have workers who are burnt out, who are quitting.
The entire frontline staff are extremely underpaid.
It's a sad day when you consider that it took a pandemic to improve job site conditions.
After 40 years of austerity, cutbacks, underinvestments. We don't want a recovery back to what we had 18 months ago.
We must work to have the laws applied.
To fight for increased funding in the arts as the province comes out of this pandemic.
Workers who are saying no to pandemic profiteers. Workers who are saying no to concessions.
Let's get out there and vote in these upcoming elections and get the right people elected. You stand up for your right and elect a government who is a labor-friendly government.
We must vote for 10 paid sick days. We must vote to fix employment insurance so that it works for every single worker.
We need a public system with public dollars for the people.
Yeah, we need permanent jobs, not gig work.
Let's fight for justice for workers, status for migrant workers, decent work for everyone, and let's leave no one behind.
We're here to send the message that we're going to continue to fight to keep what's ours.
And we find hope and strength in fighting for every single worker.
It's why we're all here today. It's the power to change history.
We can do it.
What do we say? So. Solidarity.
Happy Labor Day to each and every one of you. Okay, thank you. So I see a hand up. I'm not sure if this is pertaining to the Labor Day report. Brother Isa?
Yes, if you have a time, then I have one question about the Labor Day. Only 1 minute, if you have, otherwise no problem.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So, Canada and America, we are celebrating Labor Day in September. The rest of whole world celebrating 1st May, where we are joint in the whole world. This is my question, why we have two differences. Only two countries in September, rest of whole world 1st May.
Okay, and you celebrated when, in May?
I celebrate both. That's okay, because I of course.
Okay, we celebrate both too. So, yeah. Yes,
why not one? My question is, why not one? This is my question actually. Why
one.
two?
Okay. I see many hands up. So I see Brother Cartwright, and then I see Brother Miguel.
Thanks, brother. But that's true across the world. The Primo de Mayo, the Primo de Maggio, the 1st of May is the international workers' holiday that, was declared back in the 1800s. But for our city, in fact, is the place where this Labor Day in September, this concept of a major march and parade was started. And it came about because of constant, massive taking to the streets in the city of Toronto, starting in 1872, which were part of our 150th anniversary. And then it became, in the United States, the labor movement picked it up and that became declared a public holiday. There are May Day events, and I'm sure Brother Miguel will mention them to you, but this is actually a long tradition. And I would urge you to go to our website, labor150.ca, which is our celebration of 150 years. And it explains a little bit there about the origins and the roots of Labor Day. But a lot of us celebrate both, just to let you know.
Brother Miguel? Thank you, John.
Yes, I would like to invite the brother Ijas to come and May the 1st to celebrate with us. I know I understand your feelings about the May the 1st, the day of the real day for the workers. I understand Canada and United States, the Anglo-Saxon countries, they turn away the real and historical and political content of this date. But we don't want to debate on this, but for the next year. I will invite you. I hope so we'll be in contact and come with us. You can embrace our events in May the 1st.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So brother, this was your first meeting, and I'm sure you're coming back next month to get a little bit more schooling. Thank you very much. Okay, and up next on our agenda, another significant date. So October 25th, we're going to celebrate 25 years since the Metro Days of Action. 25 years ago this month, workers and community members shut down the businesses and the street of Toronto in a show of organizing and power against the sitting Conservative government and their corporate allies. The next hundreds and thousands of workers marched through downtown Toronto. There are things we can learn from that time for our current fight, and also as we rise up for just recovery. And tonight we have one of our popular persons that usually come out to remind us about all the entertainment that's out there that we can get involved in, is Brother Frank Septel, and hopefully Brother Cartwright can chime in also. So Brother Frank, the mic is open for you.
Thanks very much, Andrea. I'd like to think I talk about more than entertainment, but through entertainment, of course, we can spread our message using the arts, using culture. Just a couple of weeks ago, being on the 150th anniversary steering committee, a number of us were talking about celebrating or how to organize the 25th anniversary of the Days of Action. So just after that meeting, or just towards the end of it, because I was a part of that, I took part of that. I didn't do any organizing, but I posted a question on my Facebook page. What memories do you have, and did you play a role in the Days of Action? And it was quite amazing to see how many people chimed in and what they did in terms of organizing. And in fact, a couple of people who replied on that thread that I'd posted are going to be panelists, and I'll maybe let John talk about that, or Andrea. But what was really interesting was I've known so many people over the, I know so many people, as many of us do, but I had forgotten or didn't even know the roles that they played. And again, more important than that was how the Days of Action actually molded people, how it prepared them for the roles that they're playing 25 years later. So I'm really looking forward to that discussion, and I hope you join in. And I'm sure that Jennifer and Susan Schuyler will share some information about that. And I know that many of you on this call were part of the Days of Action. And, we may know each other, but I don't know what role you played. I don't know how it shaped you. Certainly in terms of myself, it gave me a sense that we could do things together, but not just anything. We could do bigger things together, actions. We can help change and mold society. I'll stop right there, but I'm really looking forward to October 25th. There's going to be a Zoom meeting with some amazing guests and some amazing stories. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and if I can follow up from Frank, I was around the table in 1995 when Mike Harris came as a Conservative government. I'm sure people on this line, many of you remember that. But the first thing he did was end employment equity, shut down the Canada Welcome House and the Anti-Racism Secretariat, gutted labor laws, slashed welfare rates to 21%, and eviscerated the social safety net that was there for people suffering. And the labor movement decided that we had to do something about it. We debated, how do you take on this government that has a majority and has a vicious agenda that is going to take away rights from so many of our neighbors? And the decision was we had to go into the streets. It wasn't just about being in the streets and waving placards. It was to say to Bay Street, if you think you're going to enjoy what Mike Harris is doing, is gutting the rights of workers, bringing in, allowing strike breakers again to cross picket lines and forcing people on welfare to cross those picket lines, there will not be peace in this province. And the statement, no justice, no peace, was a very much a strong theme in those days. The main theme of the Metro Days of Action, October 25th and 26th, was educate, organize, resist. And that came from a Labor Day theme almost 100 years before that we had to educate each other about what was going on. We had to organize and we had to resist this government. And even if we didn't win the first number of battles, this was a war we couldn't afford not to be in. So I would really invite folks to come on Monday, October the 25th, to listen. We'll have video recordings from Margaret Hancock and Linda Torney, our former Labour Council president, the co-chairs of the Days of Action. We're going to be having a panel that features Vicky Smallman, who is now the Human Rights Director for Canadian Labour Congress. She was the head of the Canadian Federation of Students 25 years ago. Ilian Barbano was a community organizer booked off with the Toronto Committee Against Racism to do community organizing. And Karen Brown, who is now the first Black president of any teachers federation in this country, was into her third year as a teacher and participating actively in saying, we've got to defend public education by taking to the streets. And Bill Howes, of course, was the executive assistant of the Labour Council of the day. He was the chief marshal. And boy, some of the stuff he got to see from sitting on the OPSEU offices up on University Avenue was just breathtaking. If you want to get inspired, go and look at the video that's on our YouTube channel. It's called Resistance in Concert. We decided not to make a video full of speeches, but to capture the music and the sense of elation of people coming together, shutting down the financial capital of this country to tell Bay Street and the Harris government they weren't going to have their way with Ontario without a fight, and just discovering all kinds of new ways of thinking of solidarity. The purpose of celebrating history is not just to celebrate the history. It's to draw the lessons of what we got to do to rise up today against this conservative government. And that's the kind of thing that Andrea wants to continue to challenge us to think how we are powerful, how can we rise up, and how can we change the course of this history. So I hope to see all of you on Monday, the 25th of October at 7 p.m. Thanks.
Thank you, John. So that's another Dare You, okay, guys? We're making this is what we got, so we have to make the most of it. This is a perfect time for us, as whether we are on Zoom, that we are able to spend some time to participate in a lot of these meetings that we were not able to do, and close to home as well, and reflect. We have some time to reflect and make plans of what we want to do. So I hope you make this a date. We'll send more information out in the next coming days, but this should be a very important date for each and every one of us with the kind of struggle that we see ahead, and learning. As the saying, for you to go forward, you need to know your past. And this is very important that we use this time to really look back at the kind of struggle that was there, and how we were able to achieve and to win some things, and use the same tool as we move forward. Thank you. Okay, and all these topics are so close and relevant. Again, the election, we just wrap up the federal election, and one of these elections that they call that something for nothing, some election, as people describe it in many ways, that didn't have to happen or soak up a lot of money. But at the same time, most of you got ready for this election because we were not going to sit by and take chances, regardless of what happened out of it. And I believe we have Sister Heather from the CLC that will give us a little report on the federal election. Sister Heather, are you on?
I sure am. Thank you so much, President Andrea, and good evening, everyone. Just going to bring up my slides here. So I want to start off first by hugely thanking each and every one of you who showed up for a campaign. We had several fantastic labor canvases in the Toronto and York region, but not only that, we had fantastic labor leaders and activists that ran as candidates across the province and across the country. Many of those that you know very well, and some are here tonight. All of you know just how grueling each election is. So if you texted someone, if you shared on social media, if you did a phone canvass, if you knocked on doors, thank you so much for showing up. I know that a lot of the rhetoric is it was $610 million of money to largely end up exactly where we were. So I'm going to break that down a little bit with all the effort that goes into each one of these. I have to believe that there's more that we gained than nothing, but I'm going to break that down for everyone here tonight. Heading into the election, you know, New Democrats proved vital in the pandemic. We pressed for priorities that benefited workers the most. That included the recovery benefits to be increased and other wage subsidies. And at the beginning, just as we were entering into the election, the early polling was showing the NDP support was around 21% of the vote, trending upwards. When the Liberals called the snap election, it's no shock to anyone that they were hoping to get a majority government. And at that time, the Conservatives had failed to connect with voters, sitting at or under 30% of the vote. When the election was actually called, we saw the Liberal polling plummet. Voters were very upset to have to be going to the polls and be in election in the fourth wave, in a time when everyone was going back to school and what that means for our kids, for our teachers, for so much of our society. People are concerned about the economy. They're concerned about, you know, their livelihoods. And overall, people were furious on the doors that this election had been called at this grueling time. As far as the national discourse that happened throughout the election, this is something that I found interesting and something that I feel like is a gain of the labor movement and everyone who works for left-wing politics, is that we saw left-wing priorities and putting workers at the center of their platforms was something on each one of the political parties' agendas. We all know which parties have the track record to back it up, but it was interesting to see in this election that austerity was not a focus whatsoever. The primary focuses were on workers, social issues, and securing better healthcare funding. Just to show you a little breakdown of the seats, the NDP gained a seat. We did very unfortunately lose one of our Ontario seats in Hamilton Mountain, which was devastating. Davenport now has the legal recourse to do a full recount, and that is starting next week. It was within 0.1% of a close call, so that is being conducted. If we are able to land an NDP seat in the GTA, it would be phenomenal. And I know so many of you helped with Alejandro Bravo's campaign alongside several others, so thank you for your support in that. The Liberals ended off with 159 seats, Conservatives 119, Bloc Québécois 32 seats, the Greens had 2. The leader did not secure her seat in Toronto Centre. And if Kitchener hadn't gained a seat there, they could have been decimated because they don't get their return if you don't have 2% of the vote, and they ended with 2.3% of the vote. And then just overall, the total turnout was 62.9% of eligible voting population, down from 65.3%. So in these times, it was very clear that people did not want to, they didn't feel comfortable going to vote in person. People maybe didn't know as much as they should about the mail-in ballots. We did see an increase in advanced voting, so that was the one area that people did participate in higher numbers. And this is the parliamentary breakdown from an equity lens. So for women candidates, we're up to 102 elected, and that's up from 98 in 2019. So they now comprise 30% of parliament. Racialized candidates, 60 were elected, up from 50 in 2019. So that's 18% of Parliament. And Indigenous candidates, 12 were elected, and that's up from 11 in the 2015 election. So that's 3% of Parliament. Now, when it comes to the CLC and what Canada's unions were working on during this election, one pillar being media and communications. Everyone here knows that we recently elected new officers, and they really did have to hit the ground running. There was only about 2.5 months between convention and this election being called, and President B. Brusk has made a very clear statement that she wants to get as much as she can into the media to share the good work of Canada's unions to all corners of this country. So there were 31 news releases, 20 media advisories, which created an increase of 1,745 in media mentions and over 3,100 attributions. So she really was all over the media as well as the other officers. And the ground game, which is pretty exciting considering that we are in this fourth wave. 2,368 labor activist volunteers volunteered either in person, made calls, or sent texts about the election. 64 labor canvasses were organized with union members, CLC officers, and CLC staff. And the CLC also hosted several educational and capacity building workshops focused on broadening, with the information focused on broadening our healthcare, better jobs, and disaster proofing our social net. The end game for that is to embolden our members and ourselves to talk to our families, our spheres of influence, our unions about the issues that matter to us most and connect that to how we vote. So here's some photos of being out there on the doors. It was really wonderful to get to know some of you better during this time. And these are just some of the pictures. There were so many that were out in high numbers. So again, just thank you for your support and showing up for these incredible candidates. There's Alejandra. Hopefully we can win it for her. And then the last prong for digital strategy. So our advertising, we coupled our digital ad buy and earned media. We also did digital voter contact. So whenever the CLC has a campaign, whether that's on pharmacare, universal child care, people who are interested in that conversation, we have an ongoing conversation with them and how that relates to how they vote. So that was definitely employed on a massive scale. And then the final piece was the text out the vote, and that saw over 100,000 conversations with voters. So that's kind of the fast and dirty presentation, but there's a full report coming from the CLC that's just about done that I'll circulate to Andrea. And I also wanted to do a shout out to our new president, Andrea Babington, as well as all of the Toronto and York Region Labour Council. You know, they made this election primary during our Labour Day this year. It was primary in the communications that were coming out from the Labour Council. So just thank you for your support in mobilizing your union members and your locals. You know, I know that it is challenging to keep the fight alive, but we're up against big money with the Conservatives and the Liberals. So we have to keep the fight alive, and I know that all of you do every single day. And we did make gains as the NDP, so there wasn't a loss as what we've seen since 2011. So there's something to be said for that, and we're going to keep on fighting, and I know each of you will as well. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, sister. Okay. So this year, again, we're back by, I would say, popular demand. The United Way campaign, they already kick off their campaign, it's a fundraising campaign. And before I introduce the speaker, I want to take us to a little bit of history about United Way. So United Way of Greater Toronto, as it is called today, it was established 65 years ago in May of 1956. A resolution was presented and unanimously adopted at a meeting, just like tonight, at the Toronto District Trade and Labor Council, which is now called the Toronto and York Region Labor Council. Until then, workers and unions were regularly asked to make financial contribution to welfare agencies, as they were called then. The resolution came to the floor as a result of the expressed desire of these workers for a centralized way to provide support, and with so much of our collective labor and community history. I'd urge you to go back to the www.labor150.ca site to get more information on that. And this was done for more on our struggles and journeys together. So with that, I would like to welcome Sister Judith, Logan, Juno to speak to us tonight about the campaign that's kicked off. Welcome,
Thank you,
Sister.
Andrea. Thank you, Andrea. And welcome, Team Labor, and welcome to Hadil, Diane, Judy, and Iyaz. I hope that you come back to our meetings because we get into some good trouble here. So my name is Judith Logan Juno. My base union is the Society of United Professionals. On behalf of Labor and the United Way Cabinet, I would like to take time to talk to you about how you can be a part of the 2021 United Way Community Recovery Fundraising Campaign right now, and to continue Labor's charity of choice all year round. This year's goal is to raise $105 million for 280 community agencies serving the people of Peel, Toronto, and York Region. And in turn, those communities are part of and serve all of our sisters and brothers. We're 104 years proud. The partnership, as Andrea said, began many, many years ago, but the story actually begins as far back as 1917. That's a minimum of 104 years of ongoing tradition of helping our neighbors and communities that we are very proud of. The Toronto and York Regional Labor Council was a founding partner in 1956. As Labor members of the Labor Council, that consists of 220,000 workers across the GTA. I ask for your renewed commitment to the United Way and renewing your commitment to your neighbors, fellow members, and communities each year. Labor unions and United Way partner to address poverty, job security, the unhoused, and affordable housing. This includes ensuring that basic needs are accessible, helping communities improve the well-being of their neighborhoods, getting people working again, providing vital mental health resources, and helping the unhoused find shelter. This past year, 2.2 million souls accessed the United Way funded services across the GTA. To put that into perspective, that's more than the population of Manitoba and Nova Scotia combined right here in our community of Toronto, York. It is a team effort, and as Team Labor, we must continue to help raise the essential funds for the 280 community agencies across Peel, Toronto, and York Region. Remember that the partnership provides union members volunteer opportunities in the United Way campaign cabinet and the committees, provides labor staff and campaign support, as well as leads program services, and last but not least, supports programs that provides union members an opportunity to learn and grow as leaders in their community through the Labor Community Advocate Training Program. I'm a graduate of the program, and I can attest to the direct benefits of becoming a labor community advocate for my members, my neighbors, and my community. Labor's ongoing support to the United Way directly supports programs that amplifies voices of diversity, creates spaces to lift up, and to help those to lead in their communities to meet the specific needs of their community. As a labor movement, we've helped fight poverty and achieved what may at one time seemed impossible. Union members are represented in every kind of occupation. using their skills, experience, and wisdom to build cities that work and a society that cares. We've helped achieve healthcare benefits, minimum wages, workers' health and safety, unemployment insurance, paid maternity leave, and more while continuing to fight for human rights. The devastating effects of the pandemic magnifies the need to continue coming together as team labor to continue to light the unignorably challenges of poverty. As team labor, we must continue to rise to the ongoing challenges of the pandemic and drive the recovery and to ensure that we and all members of our community thrive. We need your help. Each and every one of you can make an impact. We know collectively the strength of coming together and the difference that that strike can make in the lives of others. Here are 4 ways that you can continue to support the 280 community agencies that our members and communities benefit from today and all year round. Number 1, start a campaign in your workplace. For instance, the Toronto and New York Region Labour Council and Labour Community Services, in collaboration with the Peel Regional Labour Council and Peel Labour Community Services, will be hosting the 2021 virtual annual President's Breakfast to raise funds for the United Way of Greater Toronto. This is team labor at work. Sign up for a payroll deduction through your workplace campaign. Every dollar counts. If you're able to give $1,200 or more a year, you become a leadership donor. That's about $23 a week. But $1 a week, $5 a week, together, it goes a long way. There are even more ways for you to give, and those are at the unitedway.org/donate website. If you have any questions about the United Way and Team Labor's work, please contact Marcia or Rochelle at info@laborcommunityservices.ca. As mentioned earlier, we've sent emails to invite the leaders and presidents of labor in Peel, Toronto, and York region to step up to the challenge to help raise $20,021 for this year's 2021 United Community Recovery Campaign. I encourage you to encourage your leaders to participate in this event, October 27th. If you'd like to directly participate in this year's President's Breakfast, please visit the News and Events section of the Labour Community Services website at www.laborcommunityservices.ca, or again, please contact Marcia or Rochelle at info@laborcommunityservices.ca. Thank you to all Labor Team volunteers of the United Way campaign for your work. If you have any questions on how to get started on the campaign, your single point of contact is Marcia or Rochelle. They are fantastic leaders within our campaign and are ready to help you in any way they can. And finally, as one of this year's Labor co-chairs on the United Way campaign and cabinet, and board member of the Labour Community Services, I sincerely thank you for your time and your consideration in this most important initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Julie.
Well,
okay. Up next, we have our next speaker, and he's no stranger to us, Brother Nathan Shan. Brother Nathan Shan is the Executive Director of the Urban Alliance and Race Relation, and also former City Councilor. So Brother Nathan is here to talk to us about the upcoming 2-day summit Racial Justice Summit that's coming up. And Brother Nathan, go ahead.
Thank you, Sister Andrea. Good evening, sisters and brothers. Pleasure to be here. I've been at a number of delegates meeting in the past, but this one is special because it's under the first Black woman leader as the president of the Labor Council. So it's a pleasure to be back to present some information about our racial justice summit. Is it possible for me to share screen, Susan or Jennifer? I think I should.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, can everybody see this right now?
Yep.
Sorry, it's in a PDF form, so I'm just going to use that. So, so as most of you know, Urban Alliance is an organization, charitable organization that's been around for now 46 years. It was formed in 1975. It has a long history with labor and Labor Council right from the beginning. And so we primarily focus on doing anti-racism work through engaging the community, public sector, private sector, and addressing systemic issues in the society. So the labor unions have been an integral part. Labor Council has been an integral part. In fact, we were facing some difficulties a couple of years back. And when I came on board to do this work at Urban Alliance, John Cartwright and Urban Alliance, Labor Council, along with Mohammed Hashim, were pretty instrumental in reviving our work as well. So I want to kind of acknowledge that in the beginning. And so I'll talk a little bit about our Racial Justice Summit. This is the second year we are doing it at this scale. And this year we are collaborating with Canadian Race Relations Foundation as well. So we are co-hosting it together with CRRF. And so it's an online event where we are kind of trying to bring thought leaders from different aspects of race relations, racial justice work together to engage in sharing, finding synergies, finding ways to report to communities what we are doing, but also to find ways to prepare for upcoming years. So that's why it's termed as a summit rather than a conference. And it covers all of the different things that we are doing at the organization right now in a bit of a summary format. So it will happen on the 17th and the 18th of November, 2 days, and it will happen 3 sessions each day. We will be exploring health, policing, and education on the first day. Obviously, health, we will be talking about the impact of the pandemic, health equity, mental health, and race, with policing of a lot of concern around police violence and police brutality, and a lot of support for defunding police and looking at alternative to policing. So that will be discussed. In education, we have a project across GTA looking at systemic change. In fact, I just came from Peel District School Board, where we now announced a system-wide anti-Islamophobia strategy that has been accepted at the board level, and the trustees and the director were there. So that's our work. We pushed for it and we were able to achieve. We're doing that across the GTA with different communities, including Chinese, Tamil, Black, and Muslim communities as well. And then on the next day, we will be talking about government response. We would have the Anti-Racism Directorate from the provincial level and the Anti-Racism Secretariat from the federal level, confronting anti-Black racism unit from city, as well as the Brampton City Council representation. We'll be then talking about media response and critical media related conversations around race, racism, and the presence and absence of coverage, and what type it is. And then finally, we'll finish off with employment, talking about employment equity, and talking about challenges in terms of precarious employment and race and racism. So it covers everything, because these are the kind of work that we are doing. We are just kind of convening every year. This becomes the event where we actually bring together all the work that we are doing and share with our current partners, but also engage new people to continue to do the work. So these are some sponsorship level. I won't go into too much details of this. We start from 10,000 to 2,500 to 1,000. Current year, we are happy to share with you that we have a lot of labor unions involved and supporting. So gold sponsorship with EDFO and CUPW. Thank you to those who are here from these unions for advocating for it, and Catholics, the Ontario English Catholic Teachers Association, as well as Diversity Institute at the X-University. They have joined together as gold sponsors. In terms of silver sponsors, we have Community Foundations of Canada, as well as Peel Elementary Teachers Local. And today I got confirmation that QP 79 will also be joining us as silver sponsor. It's not included there just because it just got confirmed today morning. And also Broadband Institute is joining us well for silver sponsors. And then in terms of bronze sponsorship, we have, I put Labor Council there. I know you're voting on it after this, so it's a bit premature for me to put the logo, but anyways, wishful thinking, I just put it there to show how good it will look. anyway, so the Labor Council potentially for that, and then ATU, Social Planning Toronto, and the Carpenters Council joining on us. There are a number of other unions we've been talking to as well. So now to give you a context of, this is from last year, and some of the unions, platinum ones we're still following up with. To give you a sense of why we are doing this is that, our work doesn't necessarily get funded by government because we hold government accountable. A lot of our work is very much we do have projects funded by government and foundations, but we do want to be able to have certain amount of funds independently for our advocacy work where we can actually continue to be, non-partisan way, but still do the kind of hardcore accountability and pushing for advocacy around some of the systemic changes. Now that's all for about money, but I also would like to invite all of you to register. The registration is open right now, and you can register directly. And if you sponsor, your members will get to register for free, but if not, there's a small charge based on the scale of the organization. And we hope to see many of you there. I know, we believe strongly that Labor has a strong role to play in anti-racism work, that has been playing a strong role, but there could be more active participation. And I do feel that community and Labor are not two different things. They're together in the fight to eliminate racism. But more so, racialized communities are also increasingly recognizing and participating in the labor movement to see, unionization is the one solid way of addressing poverty. And so we strongly believe that these go hand in hand. But at the same time, historically, Urban Alliance has been sustained by progressive partners, in most cases by Labor. So we're hoping that you can put us in a trajectory of sustainable advocacy work in the coming years. And we do have an institute being formed around professional learning. So if any of you are looking for that, we have a virtual museum on anti-racism work in Canada, as well as documenting racism in Canada. We have a diversity youth fellowship that many of you are familiar with, that we are expanding. There are so many things that we are doing as an organization right now, with the education advocacy work, policing, accountability work. And all of these things are possible because of the support that you provide to us. More importantly, we're able to kind of be there as an organization at this critical time when, more than ever, talking about racial inequities has become a topic, but not necessarily translating into concrete action. So it's important for us to continue to do that as well. So I'll stop with that. I think I've kind of used up my time that was allocated to me, and I'll pass it back to Andrea.
Okay, thank you, Brother Nathan. And yes, it's very exciting and very fitting as well. Like, we are already doing the internal conversation, reaching out to our affiliates to talk about these same areas and anti-racism, what if the work have to be done, and all the different challenges that we are finding as we try to tackle hate. And so if you're taking that on and you're reaching more people out there, then I applaud you for that. And I hope for anyone that's on that haven't reached out to Brother Nathan as yet, and if you already have the request letter on your desk, please make sure that you go back and respond to it, and let us do it right. This is a good time where everyone, the attention is there, and we're doing as much as we can within the community and within Labor to really make a difference this time, not look back and ask what have we done. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Sister. One quick addition. IBW 353 also joined as co-sponsor right now. So I just wanted to thank them as well for joining. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. So up next is our correspondent, and I'm going to ask Brother Abdi to go ahead.
Sisters and brothers and comrades, good evening. Thanks, Brother Nathan, for the good job you guys do. Continue, we stand by you. We have one request tonight, which is a request from Urban Alliance on Race Relations for sponsorship for the Racial Summit 2021. The Toronto York Regional Labor Council moved it and seconded and Carrie to donate $1,000.
So the poll is up.
I'll give it 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you very much. It's carried. Okay, up next on our agenda, we have two speakers that's here, one from CUPW and one from UFCW to share their own personal experience today. And today is World Day for Decent Work. And this morning, early this morning, I went up to join a few of these workers. They're app-based workers that are also called gig workers. We joined them this morning up at Queen's Park. And they were up there to put their demands out, to send a strong message to the government that they do matter and they deserve respect. They deserve to have the same rights and strong employment standard rights as anyone out there. So I'm going to ask for our first speaker, Adele Baki, and then the next speaker is Ajaz Butt. When you're on, Adele, before you speak, can you please introduce yourself and which union you're from for everyone? Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea, and good evening, everyone. My name is Hadil, and I'm a part of CUPW, and I'm the membership lead of Gig Workers United. I have been working as a gig worker for around 2 years, which is when I immigrated to Canada. And working as a gig worker is really hard, and we're facing really hard work conditions. I work as a car courier and I deliver food and groceries, and I work around 12 to 18 hours a day just to put food on the table for my family and to make ends meet. And I'm working like this hours because delivery platforms are decreasing our wages day by day, which is reached to the limit where it's less than minimum wage. We're making around $8 an hour, regardless for the expenses that we have. I don't remember the last time I had Thanksgiving off or Christmas off, or the last time I spent time with my family or took a vacation. And that's because we don't have any vacation pay. Also, we don't have any sick days pay, as for example, like once in a winter, I was delivering food and I slipped into my back and I had a severe pain on my back. But the next day I had to wake up and deliver food because that was the only option that I had. And today, as Andrea said, is the World Day for Decent Work. And me and my gig workers folks are taking the street to demand our rights and ask for a decent employment status. And I do believe that an injury for one is an injury for all. And we really need you to stand at our back and support us. I'm going to share 2 links on the chat. The first one is to sign the Bill of Rights, and the second one is to sign a message to the Minister of Labor. And I'm really thankful for your support and for giving me the time to share my story.
Thank you.
And Ijaz, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Uh, Thank you very much to give me this opportunity. So my name is Ijaz, but I have the past around 35 years trade union movements, my background. So, but I will start from the Toronto. I'm a limousine driver before around 17 years. I'm president of Toronto Limousine Driver Associations and also General Secretary of iTaxi Worker Association. So Uber start in Toronto in 2013, and I also start when Uber start services in Toronto. So I give it to Uber 333 drivers, which are my limousine association members also. And Uber actually, due to our chauffeur service, Uber get publicity soon and get more customer. So behind originally is our chauffeur services. A problem about with our unfairness is that Uber not interested to accept us as employees. They want drivers as a contact workers. Luckily, the different countries courts in the favor of drivers. Last month, our superior court also put one in lawsuit, drivers are employees. Uber now using a new trick. Uber lobbying in provincial and also federal government and want some new legislations from both government that because there's no classification, any laws, any legislation about the gig workers and also for the Uber drivers. So that is why he's doing for that, they will get some new laws which support companies and kill drivers with black legislations. I am today very happy when I saw that we have already going for the Bill of Rights. So this is very, very good time. Thanks to the Ontario Federation of Labours and all unions who are involved for that efforts. So this is very, very good action we done in the support for the gig economy and Uber drivers. I'm hopeful the Ford government and also the federal government both not support companies and not legislate like this type of law which is kill the working class peoples and support the outsiders company. But we are also thankful to my UFCW union. They already agree with me. If government not listen and not in our favor, then we are ready for all type of sources for fight. And also this, they already told me if we need to go for the Supreme Court, we go for the Supreme Court also.
Okay.
One other very important things, I don't know what's happening Ontario Labour Board. Last year, the Toronto Limousine driver who working with Uber black car SUV drivers, members of UFCW, we filed applications for the union in Uber. And voting will be held in 20th January 2020. And now Uber give it to them wrong informations, and Ontario Labour Board freeze that decisions. Now more than 18 months gone, we are still waiting for our union rights. I'm hopeful you all support us, and Ontario Labour Board also convince us to give it to us this opportunity to get our union, and then we have more power to negotiate Uber to get our union and go for the collective agreements.
Okay, brother. Brother, I really appreciate it, your story, and I really apologize, but we definitely are right behind you. You can see in the chat everyone putting out their support, and I see someone putting out about signing on to a petition, and hopefully that you can come back. But we put together a statement that we'd also ask again for more support for you, and this is the executive board statement. And just so you know, our executive board recommend that the Labour Council resolve to demand that the provincial government not carve out a separate employment status for gig workers, to call on affiliates to contact the provincial government with the same demand, and to communicate to our members how crucial it is that we remember how Ford has failed working people and our community on election day, June 2nd, 2022. So we will be there with you throughout, and if we have to take this to the poll, then we'll do that. So I'm gonna ask for a vote on this statement as well to support your action.
Sorry, I launched it early, so I'm gonna relaunch it. My apology.
That,
my apology. It's my fault.
And while you're voting, give it a few seconds. I hope you got a chance to take a look at the next executive board statement, the violence, encampment, eviction, and affordable housing crisis. And these are two sides of the same coin. Again, it was the first one that you got. We posted a revised statement, and we also would like to call on speakers. So for this one, we could just close this one off. So yes, we have 93% voted in support. Thank you. Hold on 1 minute. Okay, so we have the statement here on encampment, and I know for most of you hearing what was happening over the last few weeks, and it's very hard to go almost anywhere without seeing a tent somewhere. And with what's happening with the pandemic, again, this is not something that's going to fix itself. And we are also getting new updates on what's happening where landlord, if you're a renter, the landlords are already got the nods to increase rent. So we know that the pandemic is not ended, and we see what's the result, whether you're inside or you're outside, what's happening, and we put a statement together. But I'm gonna ask for Brother Hendrik to speak on this statement, and whoever else is here to speak. Great. Go ahead.
Oh, there we go. We got warring unmuting. There we are. Thank you, Sister Andrea. I thank you for the opportunity to step forward and speak in support of this motion. I rise in passionate support of it. This is an issue that strikes very close to home for me, and I think should for all of us. I think we should all, the actions of the Toronto Police Services and of the Mayor's office in response to the encampments, I think have been an embarrassment and a shame, and there's no other way to describe them. I mean, the report that came from the ombudsman in September said that it was nearly $2 million that the city of Toronto has spent in breaking up these encampments, which, I mean, that's a big number, but that's more than just a number on a ledger. That represents something real. That represents $2 million worth of labor hours, of materiel that we have turned against the most vulnerable in our society to punish them for being unhoused. And homelessness isn't the kind of problem that you can punish away. We know what the causes of homelessness are. In our society in particular, they are the cynical actions of past liberal and conservative governments and by the city council to treat the real estate bubble as a tent pole of our economy, and to allow mega landlords and property speculators to bring us to the point where a working class person with a full-time job nonetheless struggles to survive. They struggle to cover the most basic expenses when living in this nation's most populous city, and that's a genuine shame. Make no mistake, there are working people who are living in these encampments. There are people who are looking for work who are living in these encampments. When you have tent cities in your city, you have a genuine crisis. And this is not the kind of crisis that we can punish away. Whenever the police roll down onto one of these encampments, the city runs cover for them. They say that they are directing people to city services and to shelters. This, despite reports many times of excessive force and violence by people at these encampments. And I do want to take a moment to give credit where it's due to councillors Josh Matlow and Mike Layton for their call in City Council for an inquiry into the violence that has taken place in these arrests, not just the money that's been spent. And I want to say shame on City Council for lacking the courage to pass that bill. But the fact of the matter is, the people in these encampments, generally speaking, they don't need to be told where the shelters are. They know where the shelters are. They don't stay there because they don't feel safe, and that won't change until the shelters are adequately staffed and until for as long as they're overloaded in the way that they are. So, sisters and brothers, we are in a crisis. It's a crisis that's been building for years, and it grieves me terribly that it's gotten so far and to see our city in this much pain. This is a crisis that involves us all, and I ask you, sisters and brothers, to take this statement back to your affiliates, to discuss it, to talk about what your union can do to really take the fight to our government and demand that they address the crisis of homelessness, but that they also address the underlying cause, and that is the crisis of housing affordability in our city and the absolute failure of the for-profit market system that has priced a basic human right and necessity for life out of affordability for so many people in this city. So thank you very much for the chance to speak, and solidarity forever, sisters and brothers.
Thank you. Brother David?
Thanks to Labor Council for doing this motion. It's very important. And if people in our Labor Council think the encampments are only a Toronto region reality, I, for one, have traveled a bit in the province and into Nova Scotia recently, and the encampments are across our country. And the encampments are, as we say in the labor movement, are the canary in the mine. They're indicative, as the previous speaker just talked about, is the crisis in housing. So many workers are maybe a paycheck away from joining the encampments in terms of their own financial situation and the unaffordable of housing. I want to just mention two quick things. It was interesting in the federal election that the one issue that the politicians rarely spoke about, except to give more market alternatives to how to build affordable housing. But poll after poll across this country, housing was the crucial issue for people with their economic problem across the country. And last but not least, I want to make a plug for an October 21st council meeting, where one more time the inclusionary zoning bylaw is coming to City Council. This is something that Montreal has now in effect. It's made a difference in terms of forcing developers to provide more affordable housing. This item has tried to be on the agenda for City Council for a number of months, but the developers lobby is still strong and is forcing a delay again. There is predictions that it'll again be delayed on October 21st, but just to bring it to delegates in this room, there are a number of elements that this resolution is excellent. And again, I applaud Labor Council for this. I hope the affiliates take note, but also too, there is other initiatives and strategies of groups like Acorn to try to address the housing unaffordability in our city. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Is there any more speaker?
Sister Judith?
Thank you. I rise also in support of this motion. I live in Parkdale. I live close to Trinity Bellwood, Lamport Stadium, Dufferin and Queen, and also near the Albert Gosselin Park, which is a little park just really across the street from me where there were encampments for unhoused. It's absolutely terrifying witnessing what happened at Lamport and what happened at Trinity Bellwoods. And then there was a quiet, I would say, purge from those who were living at the Queen and Dufferin on the north side, just by the railway tracks there, and as well as Albert Gosselin Park. And I can tell you that I would walk across the street to go through the parkette to walk to the local greengrocer with my granddaughter, talking to the people who are living in the parkette. And I can tell you, they're human beings that do not deserve to be purged and hidden and taken away and arrested. It's no crime to be unhoused. So I encourage everyone, and I stand in absolute favor of this resolution.
Thank you. I see no more. Am I missing anyone, Jennifer? I'm not. Okay. Okay, see no more speaker. We're going to take a vote on the rest. Okay. Thank you. 93% support the motion. Okay, next on our agenda, it's the appointment of treasurer. The executive board, the Labor Council executive board may appoint a board member at this point in our general election cycle, subject to the approval of the delegates. And the executive board has voted to appoint Sister Jinky Davis from QP 4948 of the Toronto Library Workers Union to fill the vacancy of the treasurer. Maybe people ask the question why, and I that could come up, but my recommendation to appoint Sister Jinky to the vacant position is to balance the gender. I have 2 officers there already, male, and felt it makes sense to balance the gender, having a sister there. So I'm also taking it to you for your approval of the board's recommendation. Thank you. Okay. So up next, thank you very much. Up next, if there's a CLC report, Sister Heather, you're back with us.
Great, thank you, Sister Andrea. So just some updates since the election is now over. Our political action team is focused on making sure that the voices of Canada's unions, our top legislative priorities are front and center in the work of the new Parliament. Most immediate, a vital circumstance that's coming up is extending the critical emergency benefits. The emergency benefits are currently set to run out on October 23rd, despite the fourth wave of the pandemic and many people still out of work. So we will be fighting, blood, sweat, and tears to get that extended. We're also pushing aggressively for further changes to Canada's employment, our EI program. We just observed the first Truth and Reconciliation date. And on September 30th, the CLC did a text hustle to our supporters to talk about what this new National Day means, and also to send a letter to the Prime Minister with the following demands: implementing all of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action and the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls calls for justice. Beginning with the implementation of the TRC's calls to action 71 through 76, which is on the missing children and burial information. Secondly, urging all provincial and territorial governments to recognize September 30th as a statutory holiday and to observe the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And the final point being ending discrimination against First Nations children in the delivery of the child welfare services on reserves by implementing and reforming the First Nations Child and Family Services Program in compliance with the Canadian Human Rights Tribunals. So that's a little bit of what we've been doing and what's to come. And I'll put that link in the chat if other folks want to send that message to the Prime Minister.
Okay. Are you over? Thank you very much. Okay, next up, Council's project and committee report. Any reports? Any committee report? All right. I hope I'm not missing anyone from the committee.
I see Vanessa's hand up.
Sorry, Vanessa, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Good to be here with you tonight. I just want to actually report from the Education Committee at this point. I want to let you know that it's been an honor to work with this committee, first of all. Secondly, that this weekend, we're actually going to be in Stephen Lecce's backyard at the Woodbridge Fair. We are going to be bringing it to him there to say that enough is enough with the cuts to publicly funded education. We're going to have a booth there. I want to call out Philomena Ferrara for this because of her incredible advocacy. The group is called York Communities for Public Education, and it's a coalition that's been brought together of parents, students, and education workers, and so forth, and educators and unionists, spearheaded by, of course, Toronto York Region Labour Council. So thanks, Jennifer, for bringing that up. All the graphics done by wonderful Skylar. We want to say if you are around Woodbridge, please come and visit us, because we're saying no to publicly funded education cuts and no to this model called a hybrid model, which is a fractured model of learning. So please do come out. There's lots to do there, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it doesn't rain.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Anyone else from the committee? Nope. Okay. So next report from unions. Right. Carolyn, go ahead.
Yes, thanks very much, Sister Andrea. I wanted to speak about, I'm from Carolyn Egan, United Steelworkers Local 8300. And I was at a very exciting meeting last night, which had unions, Labor Council, our own unions, and other groups, environmental groups, climate justice groups like 350.org, Greenpeace, Fridays for Future. The young people have been out demonstrating around the world. The Urban Alliance, Nigel was there, and others. And we came together because we are aware that, as you all are, that the UN is having the climate conference taking place in Glasgow in November. And I don't have to go through what's going on in the climate. This is a day, Climate Day for Climate Justice, Climate Day for Climate Justice, November 6th. And all around the world, people are going to be demonstrating. And I was on a call just the other day, trade unionists who are part of the coalition in the UK from Unite, which is an alliance with the steelworkers, and a whole range of other unions, and hearing from unions in Italy, from Africa, from the Netherlands, from all over, from the United States. And I think it's so clear that the crisis is upon us. And we have decided, this group that came together, representing a whole range of different sectors, community, climate, labor, to call a rally here in Toronto to join with brothers, sisters, comrades around the world. And I think workers, we have to be there. We're going to be at the COP, absolutely, the UN Climate Conference, but we have to show in Toronto and in Canada that unions have a place at the table, that we are fighting for just transition. We're fighting in support of our Indigenous sisters, brothers, comrades who are up against so much, the pipelines and all that is going on, and supporting their Indigenous sovereignty. So I really am asking people in the unions here in Toronto to look carefully at what you can do to bring out members. This is on a Saturday. Many of the Friday for Future, the youth-oriented ones, are doing work days. It's hard for us to come out in any great numbers, but this is so important because we need just transition. We need transitions for those who are in the resource industries to decent union jobs. We need jobs in our own cities, in our own communities. We need racialized youth from every community to be able to go into the trades and all kinds of other jobs that we know can be there if the Liberal government in this country takes up the challenge and actually does this in the way it has to be done. We need some kind of a Green New Deal, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just calling on all of you. We're going to get more and more information out through Labor Council to please have, if you can, organize contingents from unions, from all the different sectors, because we have to take this climate justice struggle seriously. It's in our interest, in all of our interests, and I think we'll be marching in solidarity with people around the world, people in Bangladesh, Solomon Islands. The water's rising, their countries are actually sinking. The polar ice cap, all of that. I think you know what I'm talking about. So I'm putting a plea forward and asking unions to please try and build contingents. We don't know. We think it may be a Dundas Square. We're making all the arrangements now. We've come to this sort of late, I guess, but we need to be there. The working class, the organized working class, has to be there on side with climate justice. So thank you very much, brothers and sisters, comrades.
Thank you, Carolyn. Brother Chris. I think you're on mute.
No, he's unmuted, but we don't have any audio from him. No, we can't hear you. Maybe we can pick on David Kidd first and then come back to Chris.
And Chris, maybe you can phone in to be able to speak through the phone if that audio won't work.
Okay, Brother David, go ahead. While
QP 79, I'm giving a regular report from the Toronto Workers History Project. We're doing a special session on the struggle for childcare. There's been a long time promise from the Liberal Party to deliver childcare in our country. And again, a lot of us are waiting to see if it's going to happen, but it's going to take, again, mobilization. And part of mobilization is also reviewing some of the struggles in the history that has taken place. So next Tuesday, October 12th, Toronto Workers History Project is doing a special session. At the session will be for speakers who have a lot of expertise in childcare. Number one will be Martha Friendly, who knows the history well. Childcare Resource and Research Unit, U of T. Julie Mathian will be there, who's done recently a history of the campus co-op daycare. Lisa Pozzoli will be there from Queen's University, and Jessica Thomas from CUPE 2484 and the Ontario Coalition for Better Childcare. Susan has just put up in the chat our website. Please join us next Tuesday for a historical review of the struggle for childcare. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Brother Chris, how it's going?
You hear me now?
Yeah.
You hear me now? I apologize. I haven't left my office for 3 days. I'm doing the budget right now, so my solidarity to our new treasurer, because I know what it's like. So I don't have my headphones. That's why. But anyway, so I'd like to bring to the delegates. Some people have texted me and asked me. There's a major fight going on in the film business right now. IATSE, our international, who represents film workers in both the States and in Canada. 60,000 members in our locals there who are eligible to vote for a strike mandate for our president. 90%, just over 90% of eligible voters voted of the 60,000 members, and the strike mandate was 98%. First time in 125 years, as the international is pointing out, 128 years, I'm sorry, that IATSE has voted, the international has voted to go on strike. Usually we work things out, but this one's not workable, I don't think, because we're all enjoying our TV and our internet right now, and our Netflix and our Disney Plus and all that stuff. Well, there's union, not only IATSE, but other unions, members that are working on those productions. And I do film work in Toronto, and this strike vote wouldn't be applicable for Canada. But I can tell you that sometimes these producers ask you to do 18-hour days, leave at like 4 in the morning, and then back at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. Sometimes members are getting hurt down there, so I think the people have had enough, and they're standing up, saying we need better health and safety. We need better wages, because I too like Netflix. I love it. I wouldn't have survived the pandemic without it. But there's a real toll behind every production of workers getting abused. So I encourage you, I'm going to put some links in the chat. I encourage you to read the issues, understand the issues, because I'm sure everyone on this call uses these services. And producers just aren't willing to compensate. Their profits are going through the roof, even though theaters have shut down for the most part, but the streaming services have gone through the roof. So I hope you will support the IA. There is a hashtag, which I'm about to put in, but I'll put some links into, hashtag IA Solidarity. We have actually a lot of the Congress, US Congress is supporting this movement. So please read the issues, and please sign the petition that I'm going to put in the chat. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. So yes, and we will make sure that we circulate it widely for you as well. Is there anyone else before? I can't see any more hands.
I don't see any other hands. We'll just take a look.
I think that's it. So I think we come to the end of our meeting, and before we end the meeting, I just want to let you know, in support of the what is called here, 150th. The 150th anniversary. Susan, can you introduce this Billy Bragg's music?
Sure. Yeah, happy to.
Okay. So Susan is going to put that on. She can explain what it is. And I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting, and you can stay on and enjoy the music. Can I get a motion from someone to adjourn? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, it's adjourned. Susan, go ahead.
Thank you. So those of you who were at the Days of Action 25 years ago will remember this fabulous concert. John mentioned Resistance in Concert, and Billy Bragg was in the middle of that, and a lot of people claim that they were near Billy Bragg. So there must have been 200,000 people who were clustered right around him. Anyway, we're going to show an excerpt from that was actually in the 150th anniversary video from back in April. Stay for as long as you're able to. And here we go.
The Ontario NDP was elected in 1990. Building alliances and a powerful resistance movement that featured a full general strike, the Metro Days of Action, in October 1996.
This is a trade union movement taking the initiative itself, making connections between other groups that are threatened by the Tories and what they're trying to do, and coming together as a popular movement. And that's the important about a trade union, to move just outside of the workplace into a broad, open movement like this. When I look at you people, I realise that there is still power in a union. There is power in a factory, power in the lands, power in the hand of the worker. But it all amounts to nothing if together we don't stand. There is power in a union. Now I long for the morning that I realise brutality and unjust laws cannot defeat us. Who'll defend the workers who cannot organise when the bosses send their lackeys out to cheat us? Money speaks for money, the devil for his own. Who comes to speak for the skin and the bone? What a comfort to the widow, a light to the child. There is power in a union. Forever defending our rights. Down with the black legs, the workers unite. With our brothers and our sisters, together we will stand. There is power in a union. Solidarity forever. Thank you very much.
This is not a narrow...
Hello, hello.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night, all. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Good night.